I thought, okay, but why do I want to know about creativity? What motivates me and what brings me to it is actually this fascination with the possible, with what is possible in our lives, in the lives of others. And wonder was this link. It was the missing link that materialized between creativity and the possible, because for me, it's this experience that just opens your mind to the world in such a different way.
Orbiting 250 miles above, the space station provides us with the ultimate view of planet Earth. From this perspective, we ask our guests to engage with 6 questions that orbit around wonder and stories of hopefulness. For the next few minutes, this is our Wonderspace.
Welcome to the 133rd episode of the Wonderspace Podcast. My name is Steve Cole, and over the past 3 years I have asked the same 6 questions to amazing people from around the world. Questions that orbit around wonder and stories of hopefulness. We started during the COVID lockdown to enlarge people's vision and perspective and remind everyone that alongside crisis and emergency are always mind-blowing wonders of the natural world and hopeful stories that have the potential to fuel us and energize us, even in the most challenging of times. Before I introduce our guest this week, here is another 1-minute wonder from our friends at Ask Nature, who are part of the Biomimicry Institute.
Bird wings are inspiring for many reasons. But perhaps most startling is that bird wings, in a way, don't even exist. The overall shape of an extended wing is only a temporary arrangement of many individual feathers, and each of those feathers plays a part in keeping the bird aloft. In particular, each feather must bend but not break under the incredible forces experienced in flight. A circular cross-section at the base of each feather avoids an uneven buildup of pressure against the bird's skin. But flexible circular tube shapes, such as paper drinking straws, easily buckle under strain. So for the feather to withstand use in flight, it needs to be made stronger. As the tip of the feather is pushed outward from the follicle, the keratin reshapes itself to have a square cross-section. This adds sturdiness because the square shape puts more material in the direction that bending would occur, much like it would with an I-beam. This evolutionary development illustrates how birds mastered the skies through elegant, lightweight design. What greater resilience, safety, and performance could artificial wings attain, following their lead?
This week on Wonderspace, we ask our 6 questions to Vlad Glaveanu, who is a professor at the School of Psychology at Dublin City University and is the founder and president of the Possibility Studies Network, which brings together academics, researchers and practitioners dedicated to the study of human possibility. Topics include creativity, imagination, innovation, and of course, wonder, which is the title of one of Vlad's books. Vlad, it's so great to have you on board a Wonderspace orbit today. As someone who is known for work on creativity, imagination and wonder, I'm excited to dive into our 6 questions today. So firstly, from this imaginary window on the space station with a panoramic overview of Earth, our first question is, if we could do a fly past over any part of the world that is significant to you, which place, city or country would it be and why?
Beautiful question. Thanks so much, Steve, for having me. Well, it would have to be back home, one of my many homes, but the original home, which for me is Bucharest in Romania. And it's a place I haven't been able to see physically, just traveling mentally or with the spaceship, right? The space station. And it is where I grew up. And it is kind of the stuff of legend and myth in some ways. Although I did live as a young man, not as a kid, I do have these vivid memories. And for me, it would be, and I'm seeing it already, right? With the eyes of my mind, I see places from high up, but I also zoom in and I see these very significant street corners and trees and benches and things where, I became the person I think I am today.
That's so good. And when was the last time you were there?
Well, pre-pandemic, when we had only one child, and now we have three, and we have to bring them all to part of their roots, because they're a very multicultural family. My wife is French, I'm Romanian, we live in Ireland. It is a European story.
That's amazing. And Vlad, as someone who has so many plates spinning, I know to answer this next question in 5 minutes or so is going to be challenging. But Vlad, give us a glimpse into your life story so far with an emphasis on what you're doing currently.
Oh, wow. Well, I could start you from saying that I was born in communist Romania, which I was, but I'm going to take you from another significant point. For a long time as a young child, I was thinking, what am I going to do? I was one of these children curiously obsessed with the future, and that obsession stays with me. And I was imagining what my life could be, and I was very intrigued by many things. My mother was an art teacher, now she's retired, so the world of symbols and art and just these other forms of expressing, was always there with me. So back in the day, I found psychology, and psychology was a revelation for me because it allowed me to enter these new spaces I didn't think possible, which is new spaces in my own mind and new spaces in understanding others, right? Which is really the miracle and the wonder of it all. And then within psychology, I thought with myself when it was time to do a PhD, what would I like to study most? And around me, I was then in London at the time, at the London School of Economics, and around me, there were all these very important topics being studied, like stigma and cares of people with HIV/AIDS and in Africa and all of these beautiful, really important topics. But for me, I thought, okay, I'm going to spend a number of years studying this, and I need that joy that sustains me, and I need to recover something joyful of my experience. And again, you see, it connects to the first answer because I thought about back home. I thought about Romania, and one of the things that brings me a lot of joy is the tradition and the craft. And that's an interesting thing already because craft and tradition for many are the opposite of creativity. So my PhD was exactly to show the reverse, to show that in every act of creation, you have a lot of this past and this tradition that is not dead or still, but is moving and it's dynamic. So I studied Easter egg decoration practices in Romania, in urban and rural spaces close to the border with Ukraine. And it was what I call my romantic PhD in many ways, surrounded by people with these very pressing, urgent issues. I was looking at how communities become creative. And then we jump in time again. And after kind of 10 years after my PhD, catching myself that I keep saying that creativity is a social, cultural, distributed, shared process. I thought, okay, but why do I want to know about creativity? What motivates me and what brings me to it is actually this fascination with the possible, with what is possible in our lives, in the lives of others. And wonder was this link. It was the missing link that came materialized between creativity and the possible, because for me, it's this experience that just opens your mind to the world in such a different way. So for about 5 years now, almost, I've co-initiated this field of possibility studies, and it is such a joyful experience to see colleagues from all over the world, all over, all the disciplines come together and talking about really what makes us human and what makes us wonder. And it keeps me wondering for all these years and hopefully many years to come.
That's amazing. And you've got a gathering happening in July in Cambridge, is that right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an annual conference. Last year it was in Dublin, where I'm based. Now it's in Cambridge, University of Cambridge. And then we hope, this is a first time announcement in premiere, that it's going to be probably in June in Malta the year after. So we gather, and we grew from a conference of 150 people last year to almost 300 now. And who knows what the future holds. And everybody is welcome, absolutely, to get in touch if you're interested.
That's brilliant. And alongside that, you've written a novel as well, which
Ooh.
I'm interested the fact that you haven't mentioned that.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about the novel and how that came about.
Well, life has these many paths, but they come together. I don't intend them to come together, but they do. So the novel is called The Wish Thief, and it's a trilogy because it's fantasy, and of course, why not? And I've only written one book. I'm in the process of writing the second one, and it takes years, and that's the beauty of this hobby, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it is a novel about the power of wishes and wish making. The premise is that, very briefly, it's a world in which you have one wish to make when coming of age, and that wish comes true, actually. And how would that world look like? So it's really a meditation about dreams, wishes, and hopefulness, which again goes back to possibility studies.
Nice. So, Vlad, so we've got lecturing, we've got writing papers, novels, meeting with students, alongside the joys and challenges of being a dad and family man. So where on earth is your place of reset or recharge amongst all this?
Wow, that is a good question. I try to be my inner forum, but if I'm taking myself out of there, it's going to be a peculiar answer here, and hear me out. I think it's in London, and not many people would say that because London does not seem like a place where you recharge, but like you waste your accumulated energy. But, we're talking about homes and homecoming in some ways, and London is a second home for me. After the home I was born in, it's the home where I went and I did my PhD, my master's and my PhD. And I just came as this Romanian kid who almost never traveled abroad, and never traveled to London. And it's an intellectual home. It's like that intellectual womb, if I think about it. And when I go there, I get recharged in a very different way, because I think I go back to a time in my life where the horizon of possibility was so different, and so many things came true, and so many things are still possible. And I think I'm reconnecting with that. Yeah. So it might be London.
No, I totally relate to that. I'm there every week, and it is still a recharging place for me. I totally get it. But so our next question, which again we've asked everybody, is around wonder. And Vlad, in 2020, you wrote a book called Wonder. It's described as a compelling and comprehensive exploration of how the seemingly ordinary act of wondering can lead to profoundly new possibilities for navigating life's uncertainties. So, as I said, our fourth question is, what is the wonder of the natural world that excites you the most? But in the light of your study and passion around wonder, Vlad, I just give you full permission to riff around wonder. And so if you want to just expand our minds and hearts around the potential and power of wonder, then just take it wherever you want to go.
Thank you. Well, very briefly, we can stay here for ages, but for the sake of brevity, for me, wonder, what fascinates me about it is its connection to not knowing. And not knowing is a fabulous state of mind. And I think in society, in education, sadly, in organizations, wherever we work, we're fighting against not knowing, because we have this ideology and this kind of discourse of not knowing means error, failure, you misunderstood, you're not good enough if you don't know. So going back to Socrates, right? Of course, philosophy is born in wonder. The love of wisdom is born in wonder. And his famous alleged, statement that all I know is that I do not know. Not knowing as a generative state. And wonder what it does, and this is all I'm going to say about it, and then go to the natural world, is that I love that in curiosity, which is so connected to wonder, we move from not knowing to knowing. Basically, we move from a space of uncertainty to one in which, because of our curiosity, we get to understand something about the world. And it's fantastic, and we need to cultivate curiosity. But the path of wonder is a bit reversed. We move from knowing, or at least believing that we know, to actually not knowing. So we get to question those assumptions. We get to question that understanding of the world, because there is always so much more to it. And now let me try to make a bridge with my personal wonderings. And I'm going to go back to childhood. You see, I'm in a very kind of memory-induced kind of state today, but I remember, because awe and wonder are also very connected. And I think the natural world puts us in a state of wonder, but also in a state of awe and contemplation. ocean. I remember to this day, my first passion in life was birds. Okay. So you might make a connection here with Easter eggs and eggs, but no, that is not the connection. But birds fascinated me, and just the living world fascinated me. And I remember as a kid watching, a pigeon take flight and marveling at the scene. And to this day, I don't do it for every pigeon. Sadly, I wish I would, put myself back there, but it is the simplicity and yet complexity of being surrounded by this nature that is just amazing. If you come to think about it, these living creatures take off and fly. They move in the air, and we're on Earth. And then they're creatures that crawl at the bottom of the ocean. So for me, the natural world is very much not only places, but it's just life finding its way in so many instances. So I think that is a big source of wonder for me.
Yeah, that's so good. Brilliant. Vlad, our fifth question takes the focus onto someone else. It's off self and our own organizations and brands. And so the question which we love asking everyone is, what is your story of hopefulness that's not your own? About a person, business or nonprofit who are doing amazing things for the world. So who would you love to give a shout out to today?
I'm going to give a shout out to actually a community, okay, and which I think fits very well within exactly the purpose of this question. So I was telling you that when I did my PhD, I went and talked to craftsmen and craftswomen in particular, although there were men and women engaged in Easter egg decoration, which is such a lovely practice. And it has a bit of a religious undertone, but not only, there is so much more to it symbolically and so on. So what fascinated me as I entered these villages in the north of the country was kind of the authentic life that these people were living through producing these artifacts, and they are being sold. So there is a market for these products. So I'm not overly romanticizing it, but there is such a labor of love to produce these, the eyesight alone, the capacity to work on such a small surface in such intricate ways. I do encourage our listeners to kind of Google or search for a Romanian Easter eggs, Ukrainian Easter eggs, or, to see the marvel that they are. So that element of dedication to a craft, and a craft that sustains community, that makes, is the beating heart of people there, because these eggs and the motifs on them had meanings that then you would see on houses and on tablecloths and on clothes. And I think for me, and that remains a fascination, is kind of, the human capacity to give up so many things for others and for passion and for joy that contributes to the common good and the common life of everyone. So I'm going to give a shout out to not named creators, because a lot of people in this craft are known, and they're known in Romania. So internationally, we can, tell their names. But the beauty of tradition is that we all identify into it. So there is something greater than a person or even an institution. So yes, that'd be my choice.
Love that. This has been such an inspiring orbit, Vlad. But as we draw our time to a close and prepare to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, what insight, wisdom, or question would you like to leave with us?
Oh God. Well, my first question is how we're going to make it back through the atmosphere, but I'm going to hold on to my chair. My question is the one I go to with possibility studies, because I was telling you what fascinates me is what I tend to call this amphibious life we live. We're a bit like frogs, like salamanders and so on. We're in the here and now. Now we're talking together. We're listening, perceptually we're connected. We think about that. But at the same time, we're also elsewhere. We're here and not here, and not yet here. How is it that we can live in multiple spaces and multiple experiences at the same time? And how is it that we can bring what is not here and not yet here and might never be here into the here and now to enrich and transform that experience? I think for me, that is the biggest marvel and wonder of them all. It's an engine of creativity, of possibility, and really of human culture and society. So that's what I'm leaving you with.
That's fantastic. So, Vlad, to find out more about your books or about the Possibility Studies Network, where is the best place to find out more?
Oh, so we have a website, possibilitystudies.net, if I'm not mistaken. And there you can go scroll at the bottom or the contact and leave your email and you'll be on our email list. We have weekly seminars. And if anyone wants to connect, they can do it. They can do it all the time, right? And then I have a DCU page and a Google Scholar page and a LinkedIn page with my name, Vlad Glaveanu. And also for the novel, it's vladglaveanu.com. If you want to be kept up to date. There will be an audiobook of the novel just finishing, which is fantastic news. So I'm all excited to hear from people, and that brings me the greatest joy.
And for film producers who want to kind of talk to you about buying the rights of your book, yeah?
I am available, and that will be a whole new discussion when the time comes. Can you imagine? That's the beauty of it. We never know. You never know.
Here we go. Thanks so much, Vlad, for helping us to re-wonder today. That's so inspiring. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed the episode with Vlad today. I finished with a question. What is your story of hopefulness that's not your own? About a person, business or non-profit who are doing amazing things for the world. A story that makes a name for someone else. Thanks for listening.